All right, let's get this going. All right, thank you for joining us today for today's Financial Training Ground pop-up on Paying Yourself First and Emergency Savings Bootcamp. I'm Amy, and I'm joined by Jen, a certified credit union financial counselor. We're part of the community engagement team here at Horizon Credit Union. Today's content is brought to you by It's a Money Thing, a Horizon Credit Union partner. Just some quick housekeeping notes before we get started. Everyone has been muted upon entry, and we are recording today's webinar. Please feel free to use the chat option to participate and to ask any questions that you may have as they come up. There is a handout available as well, and the link for that was in your invite, and we'll put that in the chat now. So you'll have that link. All right, paying yourself first. That probably sounds like a great idea, but how easy is it really to do? It's a somewhat simple but highly effective strategy to help you save for your long-term goals. Most budgets are built around the tracking of expenses, but the pay yourself first method of budgeting flips that traditional approach to where you build your spending plan around your savings goals. The goal with this method of saving is to make sure enough income is first saved or invested before your monthly expenses or discretionary purchases are made, but not at the expense of the necessities like housing, utilities, food, and loan payments. All right, let's take a look at how it works. The first thing you're going to want to do is to prepare by accessing your spending. You will want to figure out, based on your income and expenses, what the appropriate amount will be for your budget. Consider the 50-30-20 approach to determine the amount you should save. In that approach, 50% of your income should be allocated for necessities, 30% should go to other wants and needs, and 20% should go towards savings. The key is, just as soon as you get paid, put money into your savings account first. It's recommended that you set aside a portion of your income to save before you pay bills or buy groceries. The size of that contribution is up to you. $100 is a great starting point, but even small amounts will add up over time. This method of saving money can be applied to any of your savings goals. Those can be things like setting money aside for an emergency fund, or saving for a new car, saving for an upcoming vacation, gifts, or even a summer concert. Now, let's take a look at the benefits of paying yourself first. When you pay yourself first, you'll get used to saving regularly. You begin to treat your savings with the same importance and priority as a bill. It's an essential part of your financial well-being, and it's not just a nice to have. Habits may be somewhat difficult to form, but they're even tougher to break. A quote by Warren Buffett summarizes this perfectly. He said, "The chains of a habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." With the pay yourself first method, you can spend guilt-free. Paying yourself first means you've contributed to your savings goals before allocating your spending money. The result, you get to shop without worrying that you may be shortchanging your long-term goals. You'll be ready for a rainy day. Saving regularly is your best defense against the curveballs that life will throw at you. Paying yourself first means that you won't be scrambling the next time you have to pay an emergency expense. It's recommended that you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved specifically for unplanned expenses or financial emergencies. By paying yourself first, you're setting yourself up with an automatic emergency savings fund. And Jen's going to talk a little bit more about that later. You don't need to rely on willpower alone. In the moment, it's easy to justify spending rather than saving. By paying yourself first, you sidestep the endless internal struggle and take the pressure off your self-control. If willpower is a major issue for you, consider keeping your pay yourself first money in an account you don't always have easy access to. Reduce the temptation of spending out of that account by making access to those funds more difficult. You get to see your progress. Watching the numbers rise beside your savings goals feels great. Incremental progress makes you feel engaged and boosts motivation. This often translates into more savings progress. And make sure the process is easy so that it does become a habit by automating your savings. Put your savings plan on autopilot with these tips. Paycheck deductions. Take advantage of any retirement savings plans offered through your employer. Direct deposit. See if you can have a portion of your paycheck deposited directly into your savings account. Automatic transfers. Schedule a repeating automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account. And automatic bill pay. Avoid late fees and missed payments by signing up for automatic bill pay for your regular expenses. Automate your paycheck by taking advantage of retirement savings plans offered by your employer. Many employers offer a match, so make sure you are contributing enough to get the free money they're willing to invest for you. Ask your employer if they will allow you to direct deposit your check into multiple accounts. If so, have your pay your first portion deposited directly into your savings account. If you can't direct deposit into multiple accounts, set up repeating automatic transfers of your pay yourself first amount to your savings account on or shortly after your payday. Create sub-accounts for each of your savings goals. That might mean setting up multiple savings accounts in addition to your main account. This will help you see where you're tracking to goals for each of your savings categories created. Remember, it's important to see your progress. The closer you are to having your dream vacation paid for, the easier it is going to be for you to continue saving to hit those and other savings goals. There's a worksheet provided with this presentation, and we'll pop the link into that into the chat now. That worksheet will allow you to set your savings goals and keep track of where you're at in terms of saving for those goals, specific goals. And set up automatic bill payments for your necessity items. Things like utilities, mortgage payments, and loan payments can be set up so the payment for that expense is automatically paid on the date it's due. This will help alleviate the worry of a payment being late and will save you loads of money on late fees. For some people, grouping their billing dates together makes it easier to manage. That might mean you're able to save more from one paycheck in the month than another. You'll need to work that out based on the number of bills you have and the amounts compared to your income. And finally, get creative in finding bonus sources of income to help boost your savings. Deposit the contents of your spare change jar. Put rewards from cashback or rebate programs into your savings account. I've even heard of people taking the amount they saved on their grocery bill by using coupons and buying items that are on sale to save that money to put their money into their savings account. In that scenario, if the person saved $21 on their weekly grocery spend, they would deposit that amount into their savings because they had already counted on spending that money on groceries. And then consider putting your income tax refunds towards your long-term savings goals. Saving for your long-term goals isn't hard. It just takes discipline, time, commitment, and tracking. Set your sights on your future and go achieve your dreams by paying yourself first, by giving the pay yourself first method a try. I hope this section of the workshop was helpful. And next, Jen is going to take you through building your emergency savings plan.
All right, if there are any questions, feel free to go ahead and pop those in the chat and we will address those as we keep moving along here. I'm going to go ahead and swap out our presentation. All right, so thank you very much, Amy, and thank you for joining us today. Like Amy said, my name is Jen, and I'm a certified credit union financial counselor. And again, if you have any questions during my presentation or follow up from Miss Amy's, we'll go ahead and get those addressed if you just type them into the chat. And I will also pop in the worksheet link for our emergency fund handout here. Oh, give me just one moment. Looks like I'm gonna have to stop sharing to do that as well. I apologize. All right, we'll get this in the chat for everyone. There we are, and we'll get back to our presentation. All right, I apologize. It wants to go full size here and we can only see a portion of that. So let's try this again. All right, let's give this a shot. Close out all of our extra windows. All right, we're in business. Okay, so just what is an emergency fund? Let's take a look at a couple of definitions here. The academic definition is an account that is used to set aside funds to be used in an emergency, such as the loss of a job, an illness, or major expense. The real world definition, however, is a little bit different. It's an easily accessible stash of money for use only in case of an emergency. So we know it's time to get our savings in shape, and having an emergency fund in place is a solid step toward a financially fit future, excuse me. Fitting in an emergency fund into your budget can be confusing though. How much should you save exactly? What kinds of situations should it be used for? And how is it different from your regular savings categories? Let's break it down step by step. Step one can be harder than it sounds. For a lot of people, this is the biggest hurdle. I know it was for me, but it's really just about starting. Everyone has to start somewhere, right? Remember, you can start your emergency savings with $5 or $10 just to get the ball rolling. So who needs an emergency fund? Super easy answer here. Everyone does. Doesn't matter what your income level is, how financially secure you feel, everyone needs an emergency fund. Why do we need them? Because life is unpredictable and all it takes is one obstacle to derail your financial routine. An emergency fund minimizes the stress and damage caused by surprise expenses. And really, are you sure? Yes, really. Not having an emergency fund can turn your initial emergency situation into a cycle of debt that's difficult to break out of. Step two is about having control of your funds, particularly in the event that you need them during off hours, like a weekend or a holiday. So keep it handy. Your emergency fund needs to be accessible, so when it's needed, you can get to it fast. Keep it separate. Keeping your emergency savings in a separate savings account so you won't be tempted to spend it. An interest-bearing savings account is the perfect place. Just be sure you have access to this account in some form, like a debit or ATM card, or online banking access in order to make a transfer for those non-business hours. To allow your emergency fund to grow over time, look for a savings account with a decent interest rate, no monthly fees, and no minimum balance. Let's take a break here for a quick video about emergency funds. Bear with me on the screen share again, guys.
I'm doing it. New year, new me. Starting off with a yoga retreat. No, wait, yoga retreat was Saturday. Today is
Rise and shine, ladies.
Emergency Fund Boot Camp.
Let's get those money muscles moving.
Excuse me.
That's major savings to you, recruit.
Okay, Major, I think there's been a mistake. I'm not supposed to be in this class. I don't even need an emergency fund.
What did you say?
I've never been fired and I almost never get sick, so I don't think I need an emergency fund.
Treadmill, go. You might think you're marching along just fine without an emergency fund. But what happens when you lose your job, or get into an accident that wrecks your car, or get hit with an unexpected medical bill, huh?
I know those examples get tossed around a lot, but I really just can't see that stuff happening to me. Plus, I have insurance for that kind of stuff. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah? You think you're invincible, recruit? What if a family member gets ill and you have to look after them? Or your insurance reimbursement takes longer than expected? What if your pet needs a crazy operation in order to live? What if your hot water tank explodes? Or there's a flash flood? Or your refrigerator catches fire? With no emergency fund, you just wouldn't be able to keep up. Here.
And just how am I supposed to deal with a bunch of giant, unpredictable expenses all on my own?
Well, recruit, a healthy emergency fund will spot you for the truly unpredictable obstacles. But you can lighten the load by saving for some expenses before they turn into emergencies.
How can I save for something I don't know will happen?
You may not know the when, but you know the what. If you own a vehicle, start saving for eventual repairs. If you own a pet,
I have a cat.
then start saving for eventual cat repairs. Or whatever cats need. The point is, the more you budget for outside of your emergency fund, the better you'll be able to manage whatever comes at you. Now drop down and give me 1,000.
1,000?
You heard me, $1,000, that is. Makes for a good starting goal for your emergency fund. Over time, you should increase that to 6 months worth of expenses. It takes time and dedication to get there, but once you make it, what in the...
Just because something's unexpected doesn't mean you can't be prepared for it.
I'm proud of you, recruit. So proud. I don't know, but you've been told your spending in savings must be controlled.
You've given me some good advice. A slice of pizza would be nice.
Sound off.
Pizza.
Sound off.
Pizza. No more workouts, only pizza.
Hey.
Definitely a video after my own heart. I'm a big pizza fan myself. And also cats. And I can vouch the cat repairs are expensive. All right, so we'll keep moving here. Step 3 sounds intimidating, but it's really not. You'll need to get familiar with your unknowns. While none of us has a crystal ball, unfortunately, we can pretty much count on something or things going wrong eventually. Let's explore what true unknown unknowns are versus known unknowns. Unknown expenses are the expenses that are truly unpredictable. You don't know when they will happen, what they will be, or how much you'll even need to cover it. Unknown unknowns are the motivation for creating an emergency fund. Examples of these include things like sudden unemployment, a health emergency, an accident, or bereavement travel even. Known unknowns are expenses that are somewhat predictable. You don't know exactly when they will happen, but you know it's only a matter of time. Known unknowns should be budgeted for separately from your emergency fund. So these are the car repairs, the fridge is going to break, or any other appliance in your house, those cat repairs, those kind of things that you know will eventually happen. Examples of these can include things like those major car repairs, pet care, home repairs, replacing those major appliances. We might like to all think that everything in our home is just going to run forever as long as we live there, but that is likely not the case. So be prepared, take a little bit of pressure off yourself. Step 4 is a critical part of the emergency fund process. We'll look at some examples of when to use or not use your emergency fund. Situations in which to use your emergency fund. The term emergency fund brings to mind a very drastic situation, like a car crash, an illness, a job loss, but emergencies can come in many different forms. Any situation that threatens your cash flow is appropriate to use your emergency fund for, such as being out of work for an extended period of time, needing to take care of a loved one, or waiting for an insurance reimbursement. In step 5, let's calculate our emergency fund goal. We'll discuss the experts' recommended amount next, but be sure to keep in mind not to be intimidated by it. If saving anything feels totally out of reach at this point in time, just start somewhere. Can't stress it enough. You'll be surprised at how quickly it adds up and how gratifying it is to see that number increase. Even $5 per paycheck will help in the case of an emergency. Most financial experts recommend that you have at least 6 months worth of expenses in your emergency fund. Track all of your expenses for a month or two to figure out how much money you will need to get by. And then use this chart to help you zero in on the ideal size for your emergency fund. So just for a quick example, if your monthly expenses were $1,000, you'd be looking at an end goal of $6,000. But again, don't be intimidated by that large number. Step 6 is all about sticking with the plan. Even when things are tough, like maybe now, remember that you're helping out your future self. Break up your final goal into small, achievable steps. 6 months of expenses is super intimidating as a target. So set incremental benchmarks like 500, maybe then 1,000, and keep moving on. Another key to sticking with it is patience. A healthy emergency fund takes time to build. Be patient, keep reaching for that goal, and only touch it if there is a true emergency. All right, well, thank you for joining us today for our Savings Bootcamp. Does anyone have any questions about paying yourself first or emergency funds? I don't see any, but I will take this opportunity to mention as well, it is currently America Saves Week. So that was the theme for our pop-up this week. So be sure to look into that if you have some time, get some additional tips on how to build those savings, reach those savings goals. And finally, continue your financial journey at the Financial Training Ground at hccu.org. Explore a variety of topics, including interactive guides at the top link shown, or create a personalized financial education playlist from the bottom link. Thank you so much for joining us and have a terrific